pay for it.
That's fair enough. I mean, same thing. I mean, if it wasn't for like my uncle who was super keen on this stuff, I wouldn't have ever tried to figure any of it out before. But he was keen on trying to figure out the family history, and I was like, all right, sure. But then it's always funny being in Scotland. So I worked in a souvenir shop for the first 6 months I was here because it was just easy money. And the amount of people were like, oh, I'm related to Robert the Bruce, or, it's like a 6th generation and stuff like that. It was just like, have you watched too much Braveheart? You can get over it.
Yeah. You're like, so does that mean you're going to steal something, or what is that? You got, I feel like if I were to actually do that and pay for it myself, I feel like I'm just ruining a Christmas present that my mom's going to give me in 3 years.
Right. Yeah. Something you're going to want this. You want to know.
Yeah. I'm like, I'll let her have that. And, when the time's right.
But, you never know. You want to find out, how many generations you go back. So if you, want to move the U.S. and leave the country for a while, for maybe 4 years, it could be a good time to find that information out.
The only thing I know is I had an Austrian roommate for a couple of years, and he told me that the way, I guess, the IE in my last name is set up is like something that they got rid of late 1800s. So in his theory, whoever I'm related to would have come over, before that, in like whenever that would have been. So,
right.
And that is just a guesstimation from a roommate I had 10 years ago.
Right.
Who was just fluent in German, so I just assume he was correct. So that's all I know.
There's a weird dialect of Austrian, Switzerland kind of thing. It's weird. I have a guy who's like from this region, like this old little region of his that like there's like some kind of weird German, Austrian, Switzerland.
Oh yeah, there's Swiss German.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't speak any German at all, but he was saying it's like this tiny dialect of like 10,000 people that speak it or something like that. I was like, okay, sure, whatever, man.
So it's like a German Swiss version of like Spanglish.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And those people are giants and scare people and just smash them with their big hands.
All right, John, are you still on the social media right now? That's what he's doing.
Yeah, I'm just sharing this about and then we'll get underway. So bear with me just a sec.
So I'm actually quite gutted. I bought a shirt from you, and my brother hasn't sent it over yet. I keep asking to send my shit over.
Thank you, one, for the purchase, and then I figured that because I saw the address and where it was going, but then like the name and everything, I was like, but you had just messaged me like right around when I got the message for the purchase. So, but thank you.
Yeah, I keep telling my brother like he's got all my old baseball cards, and so he's actually boxed them all up, and it's taken 8 boxes to get them all over. So I'm like, all right, like let me know when they're ready. I'm gonna ship the stuff over. Here we go.
Now 8 box, like 800 counts, or are you talking like 8?
No, like 13 by 13 by 16 inch boxes.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So that's a lot.
It's all the cards I collected in the 80s and 90s that have just sat there for years. And he's like, what are you going to do with them? And I was like, you know what? So basically what I do is I grab about 10 or 15 cards of whatever team somebody purchases a jersey or shirt from. And I just throw them in there and then make sure there's a couple of guys they know. And I was just like, well, what else am I going to do with it? And, for guys, it's a lot of fun.
Yep. No, absolutely. And that's kind of how I got started doing everything I do in the first place, was just the excitement of looking at one of those old cards, and like, oh wow, I forgot how hideous this 87 border was on these tops. This is great.
But I mean, that's the fun of it. It was my buddy started a card shop, so I was like, all right, and he's like, can you help me with all the stuff in the 80s and 90s, because I don't know anybody that knows that stuff. And I was like, all right, sure, I'll help you out there. And then I was like, well, where is all my old stuff? I knew it was at our lake house, and it was just sitting there. And I was like, oh, it's gonna get like smashed by some tree one winter, and my Mark McGuire rookies are gonna get ruined forever.
Now was this USA McGuire rookies or?
Oh gosh, no, I have like one or two of those. Yeah, no, I'm talking like 87 top rookies.
Okay, gotcha.
All right, guys, let's get started then. Hello, everyone. Thanks again for joining us. This is our second interview of the night. I'm John McKellar of Ball Caps and Bagpipes.
And I'm Jason Durr of Ball Caps and Bagpipes as well, but former president and Baseball Scotland Hall of Famer.
And we're joined for the second interview tonight by John Schieszer I've messed it up.
Hey, no, you're good, man. John, I love you. I mean, look, we have the same first name, spelled differently, but there's a brotherhood there. So
Definitely.
and a beard. I mean, God, we look at like we are. If I just turn that into a Yankees, we're cousins.
Yeah.
Minimum.
We're basically twins.
Yeah.
I found my twin.
Yeah.
John, thanks so much for joining us tonight. Well, let me start off with a question I tend to start off with every artist that we've spoken to. Tell us about your baseball background growing up. Did you play? And if so, to what level? And what positions did you specialize in when you were playing?
Yeah. I played just as a kid. The last year I played organized baseball was in 7th grade for more and associates. And, baseball is very competitive. I grew up in and around the Kansas City area. And so, which is in the middle of America for those international viewers. Wizard of Oz, no place like home, all that kind of stuff. But I was horrible. I think looking back on my baseball career, if I had just been hit by a pitch one time, it would have been the best thing for me because I never was hit by a pitch and I was always scared to death of being hit by a pitch. So that really, I think, affected my 237 average. I think it could have been more of a 300 hitter. I was also husky, which is just a nice way to say fat when you're a kid. So I had first base size, but was relegated to right field due to my skill level. Now, also my first year I ever played when I was 9 years old, I took, we were doing long toss and the kids throwing next to me overthrew and I got a baseball right in my eye, like just straight perfect in my eye. It was one of those that could have been like, oh, I lost my eye because I hit, with the baseball when I was 9. It was pretty bad, but we were still in I would say the bad news bears era of Little League. So my fat ass coach walked over to the cooler and pulled out a legitimate beer, handed it to me put on his face. I think he was probably a construction foreman by day. And so legitimately, there was no cell phones. So I just sat there until my mom showed up an hour and a half. Should we take him to the hospital? No, he's an 8-year-old kid that just took a baseball off of his face. But I love the game though, because I was in Kansas City. The Royals were hot. Bo Jackson was smashing home runs. George Brett was slapping singles. Mark Kubica.
He was winning batting titles. He's only
batting titles, right? No,
he's the only person to win batting title in 3 different decades.
Yeah, that is true. But no, I just I just love baseball, and then the card collecting kind of came with that, and slowly became an obsession, over the years. But yeah, as far as athletically, baseball horrible. I played basketball, played 1 year of football in high school just because all my friends played. I didn't play. One, I didn't really know any of the playbook. And 2, I was academically ineligible most of the season anyway. So I was pretty much just a practice squad player, staying on the sidelines, make fun of everybody. Coach would make fun of me. Why are you on the team? You're not probably getting into the game for a couple weeks. Schieszer, keep your mouth down. We can hear you. You're distracting the people that need to know what's going on. Stuff like that. But yeah, I wish I would have played baseball longer. But I guess to answer the question longly, I just never got hit by that pitch, so that really affected.
You're not the worst person. You don't have the worst baseball career of any of the interview guests we've had so far. Jason Schwartz said he was 0 for 2 years in his career.
I mean,
he did rip 2 singles
like
in the
someone
3rd
got
year.
the flu. He was probably sick for a couple of the games. That's impossible.
He was just that bad, apparently.
He was talking about trying to lean into pitches to get on base. When he got his first walk, he was pretty excited about it.
I just and it was coach pitch. I just was distracted. I got ADD really bad, and it was back in the 80s, like in late 80s, early 90s, when you just didn't stuff Ritalin down kids' faces like they do now. But I remember being on first base, probably drew a walk, probably no way in hell I actually got a hit. But I just remember standing on first base and just like looking around. Next thing you know, guy like tags me and I'm out because I was just not paying attention. Pitcher just threw the ball back to first, tagged me. But I just wasn't meant, I guess, to play baseball.
Base running hasn't always been my forte either. I remember one time, I think it was a game with you guys, Jason, and I stole second base. And I had a bunch of people shouting at me, "Stay on the base, stay on the base." This was the first season, the first half season. So they're like, stay on the base, stay on the base. At least that's what they were shouting, but I heard foul ball for some reason. So I started walking back toward first base and got tagged out there. And everybody was like, "What the hell are you doing?"
It's a pain. I mean, I have played like adult league softball as I've gotten older. And you get excited, you know, it's like you get this rush.
Yeah.
And then when you're not experienced, like I see how people make base running errors. It can get oddly confusing when you're like, do I have to go back or what just happened? But yeah, John, I'm a horrible base runner as well.
We're brothers in arms, so
yeah.
Hand and feet. I want to pick up on two points that you touched on already. Your time growing up a Royals fan. Do you have any favorite Royals memories?
Yeah, actually, like a ton of them. My first Royals autograph when I was, looking back, I want to say it was probably 88, 87. But after the game, my dad taking me down to like the players exit, and Jim Eisenreich came out and autographed this little book that I had. It wasn't even like a baseball card or a baseball or anything, but just meeting Jim Eisenreich as a tiny kid was just like the biggest deal in the world. And a weird thing too about that game is even though it's weird what you remember as a kid. I mean, I was probably 6, 7 years old, but I remember sitting there and my dad and his friend and his dad going on about how, man, this stadium is so beautiful. Like, look at the fountains. And he was a Cardinals fan coming from Old Busch Stadium, which is a classic stadium, but it was just in the round, you know, kind of like an Astrodome without a roof, kind of. But it was so just from an early age knowing like, okay, this is one of the best stadiums in baseball, I guess. And like you look down, the Bo Jackson excitement was awesome. And then, as I be, 10, 11, 12, 13 years old, like to see the chase for 3,000 hits by George Brett was pretty cool. That was actually, I think, one of the first newspapers I ever saved was like George Brett's 3,000th hit. As a little kid, I was like, I want to keep this. This is awesome. And little did I know that would just, was a bad decision and just led to so many more things that I started collecting. It overcame my life.
That was going to be my next question. You mentioned your card collecting days. Do you have a card that you've held on to that's your favorite that you would never part with?
Dude, yeah. You know what? I might. Okay, so I do have. I've got two. If I can find the other one, I'll start with this one here. This is a 92 Michael Jordan. Let me see. Team leader, Fleer.
Right.
And this card only came in rack packs that year.
Oh, wow.
So okay. You could only get these like with those long, like, it was like 3 packs hanging down. And for my birthday, it was like my 10th or 11th birthday, which is in February. We went to the local like YMCA and rented the indoor pool. And my buddy got me 3 packs and I pulled one of these Jordans, right? Which was a big deal at the time. It was worth like $25 or $20. Anyway, like so many kids did back then, I took it to the local card shop. He swindled me for some like Marvel Madness Universe stuff and like just some whatever crap and like $10 and so I sold the card back then and always regretted it. And so a couple months ago, I found this PSA. It's a 6, so it's actually affordable. I think I paid like $150 or $170 for it.
Right. But
I bought that as a birthday present to myself. And then around here somewhere, I thought I had is my all-time. Oh, sweet! This is the best card I probably ever pulled from an actual pack of cards, and it's really, really random. But it's It's a Dikembe Mutombo Topps Finest Refractor. This is the best.
Awesome.
This is the best card, and I've got some epoxy on there. I apologize for that, but yeah, this thing is sweet, and I think I am going to send this in at some point to PSA. But this is the card that I would never part with, because this. I mean, I think I pulled this when I was like 11, 12 years old. I remember being so excited, like I just found $300, you know, or whatever. Turns out it was about $550. But yeah, that's my favorite all-time card right there.
$550 in early 90s money is about $300.
But thanks to eBay, you know, it's like I can go back and like, you know, God forbid I ever lost that. It wouldn't be quite the same, but I'm like, I'm going to buy that Dikembe again, just for old time's sake.
Awesome.
But aside from that, like I collect, I mean, I'm looking at a bunch of stuff off camera, like baseballs. When you go to MLB games, starting about 6 or 7 years ago, they authenticate the game, use memorabilia and merchandise and balls, jerseys, stuff like that. And depending on the stadium, like at the Mariners, they have a little kiosk. You go to a Reds game, they've got a full store. Royals, full store. Anaheim, it's like a weird half store, more of a big kiosk, but it's usually game used balls from that game. So I got in the habit of collecting, trying to grab a ball from every game that I would attend. Most, especially if there's like a good player, you know, you pay more for like maybe a more well-known name. But if I'm going to a new stadium or it's a commemorative, like 25 anniversary, 50-year anniversary ball, like I'll absolutely be walking out of the stadium with one. And in fact, it sometimes takes away from the actual game because I'm just like kind of obsessed with it. I went to Arlington. I wanted to go to Arlington to see a game before they closed down the stadium and opened up the new Globe Life across the street. So because of Spirit Airlines, I found a round trip, I think, to Dallas from LA for $60. Had an 8-hour layover in Vegas. So I stopped in Vegas, won $400, took the red eye to Dallas. My buddy picked me up. We went to the game. You know, it was awesome, but there were a couple innings where I was just like, do they have the game use stuff? Where's the game use stuff? Asking random people that just have no idea what I'm talking about. And, you know, like I'm a madman. And then I find the game use stuff and they're wanting like $200, $300. I'm like, no, I went and settled for like the souvenir ball. And then, so I'll just put that in a case and then put usually the ticket from the game if I can, which also, because I'm a weirdo, I'll go out of my way to walk into the customer service, show them my printed, and then they'll reprint your ticket. And sometimes there's even a fee. Like sometimes I forget what stadium charged me $5. Usually the old ladies are just like, yeah, no problem, you know, whatever. Or sometimes they don't do it at all. It's actually one I wish MLB would just start setting up kiosks to give. I know there's not many of us, but out there, but I like the ticket. And if I go back through even the old stuff in my parents' basement, I'll find ticket stubs from Royals games from 1992 and, you know, or just like the souvenir pin, Catch the Thrill, Royals baseball, 1990, and just all that stuff that I always kind of clung to, you know, as a kid.
But that's absolutely it. I mean,
still do.
We went to a Cubs game for my 40th birthday, and we all flew in for a long weekend, cut the Brewers, cut the Cubs. But it was all like, you know, printed tickets from your printer. And I was like, no, that's no fun. So I had to like, go around asking people, like, can I have your ticket? And they're like, what?
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
I've flown from Scotland for my 40th birthday. Like, I want the ticket. Someone give me a ticket. And then finally someone actually gave it to me, but I had to ask about 7 or 8 people because they're like, I didn't get a ticket. Like,
I picked him up off the parking lot, like walked out defeated, like, oh, I didn't get a ticket stub for my ball. And then like, I'm just, whatever. That's just what I like. But I'll look down. This is actually what I settled on for it was the Red Sox Rangers final series. It was a fifth to the last game, but I'm getting a drink and I look over and someone had left their like VIP box, like this badass ticket stub. And I was like,
nice.
Sweet. One, I can walk into a VIP box right now, but I'm not going to, but I am going to take that ticket stub for my baseball that I'll have forever. But yeah, I don't know. I guess that's maybe part of the reason why I'm drawn to sports is there's so many elements of collecting that are involved. that can be involved in with it. But
It sounds like you've seen quite a few stadiums. Is there any ones that really stick out that you like?
I was surprised. I had a really good time at Coors Field in Denver. The accessibility was, was great. Just it was.
It wasn't the edibles, was it?
No, I took some red eyes. Well, you have to wait till 10 a.m.
Right.
There's no 24-hour stores yet in Denver for some reason. I don't know why, because turns out flights land at 5 a.m. Why would you want to wait 5 hours? But no, it was great. As a baseball fan, you can fly in. It's a $7 train straight downtown, like 2 stops, takes 20 minutes. Then from there, the stadium's maybe a half-mile walk, something like that. The fans were great. It was fun. They're knowledgeable. I was happy to see, like, since I got there 5 hours before the game. So I walked around downtown, tried to get a feel for the city, met Dodgers. I went as a Dodgers fan. They were playing the Dodgers. And so talked to Dodgers fans, talked to Rockies fans. There was a pretty sizable group of autograph hounds, like right outside the door. So I went and hung out with them and just try to understand why they were so passionate about, Charlie Blackmon, Chuck Nasty, and it was cool just to see. And the stadium, nothing crazy, but it was fun, easy to get around, and the fans were nice, and I just had a really good experience. I could say the same about Safeco or T-Mobile up in Seattle.
It's always going to be Safeco. It's never going to be T-Mobile for me.
Yeah. I know. I was driving through last year. Whenever they switched it, I looked over and I was like, T-Mobile, what? Just looks weird. But I flew up there for a Royal Series a couple of years ago. And I've been to a couple random games up there over the years, but I always enjoy Mariners in the same kind of thing, because you can fly into SeaTac and you can take the train 20 minutes and the stop's right there. You get off. I remember I went to the Ichiro's game when they were playing the Marlins.
Oh, nice.
The Marlins came to town. And I had no idea it was a day game, raining, get off the train, and there's 1,000 people already waiting to get in. And we're 2 hours before first pitch. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I know they love Ichiro, but it's a little ridiculous. It's like Jose Fernandez jerseys everywhere, Marlins fans, Ichiro jerseys everywhere, both Marlins and Mariners. But it was a double Ichiro bobblehead giveaway. Right. So they only had 10,000. So there were 10,000 people we're getting our bobblehead. And so, which when you do get to a game early, it's interesting because 1, you usually get the promotion. And then 2, I like to walk around the stadium, get sight lines, get a feel for, what different seats look like. And there used to be a certain level of accessibility to the players, whether you want to get some really cool photos. I have a small collection of photos I've taken of players signing autographs, because you can get some really cool vantage points, standing a couple rows back, holding the camera above the actual signing and stuff like that. But I just try to make the most out of the experience. And then other stadiums, I love Chavez Ravine Royal Stadium. It's great. I guess to go back to the Royals memory thing, just the years and years of just nothing. I remember in 2000 thinking, putting all my money, 05, we're definitely winning. It's going to be the 20th anniversary of 85. We had Damon, Jermaine Dye in our outfield, and Carlos Beltran. We're looking good. And then, of course, everyone gets traded to the A's and everything else. 2005 comes around, and I think we lose 103 games. It was the worst season, franchise history, which then I think that led to the Alex Gordon draft. Maybe that was the 2 years, but it was lean, real lean back then. Those are referred to as the Mike Sweeney years. And great guy, definitely a solid number 5 or 6 hitter on a winning team, or, your best player. Then eventually we got Billy Butler. But as we get into 13, 14, 15, the World Series runs were just phenomenal. And I was able, when they made the wild card in 14, I lived in San Diego at the time. And I bought a ticket immediately. It was $76, and I bought a flight straight to Kansas City. My buddy picked me up at the airport about 3 hours before the game. We drove straight there, and it was great. It looked like a Chiefs game, but everyone was wearing blue. I mean, the packed, people barbecuing, so many people so happy. The Fetty Wap, the 17, we go 1738. Fetty, it's like whatever Fetty Wap song. I'm not anyway. Look it up. It was a hit song in 2014, but that was the anthem, like that the players loved.
Yep.
And so every time they kind of brought this song out and they started winning, so everyone's bumping that. It's just an incredible vibe. There's a mob of people waiting to get into the stadium.
Yep.
Which I've never seen ever, and so just already exciting. And then I want to bring up something too. MLB, we've all been to the stadiums and they've got like the multiple gates going, to let everyone in.
Yeah.
I've been to multiple playoff games where they still have those gates closed. So I'm like, when are you opening the gates? Like, we're in the playoffs. Why are they here? Get rid of them then, because otherwise they're just pointless. Or put attendance there to speed up this entry so there's not a big mob. Anyway, I had to wait 45 minutes to get into the Dodgers game, and that was like that's what I blamed, was that they didn't have the proper people back. But that wild card game was magic, man. My buddy Brent Benson was the one that picked me up. We get into the stadium maybe like 10, 15 minutes before first pitch, and we went straight to the third base side concourse, kind of in between home plate and third base. John Lester's pitching, and where we were, it was a lot of concrete. And so I just start screaming like, Lester, like as loud as I can, like Lester, and it's echoing, and it's just Kansas City. People are nice. So everyone's like, this guy's an asshole. I'm like, yeah, I'm trying to win the game. I'm like, I'm not trying to hear like, oh, good luck. Go. I hope you strike out Alcides Escobar. Great pitch. I'm trying to get into his head. So I did that for the first inning, and then we just did multiple laps. And I feel like we could almost do an episode just on this game, because I ended up making a lifelong friend in Karen Robinson, Section 427 usher at Kauffman Stadium. Buck O'Neill, Memorial Seat Award winner at Kauffman Stadium. But essentially my buddy Brent and I end up in her section, and she lets us stand like up against the wall. She's like, look, you can stand here, you can't cross this line. But as soon as we get there, the Royals start rallying, and like, I'm very superstitious. So it's like, we score a run, everyone's excited. And I'm like, nobody move. And like, this small group of people starts forming, and it just becomes like, at the end of the day, there's probably 20 of us that were all standing there. And I remember one guy was with us for like a half inning. He's like, yeah, okay, thanks guys, I'm gonna go to my seat. So he goes to his seat, a couple bad things start happening. He immediately comes back down. He's like, I don't know, as soon as I got to my seat, things started getting bad. I want to come back down here. So then, the game goes into the 10th, into the 11th. Salvador eventually gets the game-winning hit in the 12th, and Christian Colon comes in to score, and like the crowd's just going crazy. I mean, at that point, it had been, I think it was 29 years. I think, yeah, it was 14 since '85, and so it's just unbelievable. And I remember being angry, because it's like people had this like, October, everything's October, but the game started in September. It was September 31st. And I was like, so as the game's getting closer to midnight, I'm just like, finally it hits midnight. I'm like, it's October baseball. It's finally October baseball. And everyone's like screaming, like, it's October baseball, finally. Because to me, in my, I'm like, technically, if we lose this game, we haven't been to October. I know it's the postseason, but it's not October baseball if you're not in October there. Maybe I should.
We need to do a
energy.
I think we need to do a ball caps and bagpipes watch along with John here of that game. I think you can find it on YouTube.
Good. Wait, hold on, man. Let me turn. I didn't hear the end. Repeat. Say that again, John. I'm sorry.
I was just saying we need to do a ball caps and bagpipes watch along of that wild card game with you someday.
Oh, yeah. I'm taking notes. I'm kind of like outlining a baseball kind of book, and that's a big part of it. Different moments I've experienced in my baseball fandom life. I mean, just when I lived in San Diego, I went to a Reds Padres game just for the pregame to watch Joey Votto mess with fans. Like, because I couldn't make the game. I had stuff to do, but I knew I had a $5 ticket guy. And I was like, well, I'll go watch Joey Votto mess with Padres fans and maybe I'll get a baseball, But that's my level of fandom that I have.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm gonna show up 2 hours before the game, try to get a home run, batting practice home run ball, and then wander the concourse to go, okay, what can I find? What do I need? Because I said we catch games so infrequently. I'm all about trying to see every part of the stadium. I mean, when I was in Milwaukee, I made sure I went up and sat in the euchre seats.
I didn't even know there was such a thing. Is that just
So he's got like a little statue, like way up in the top first base side in the top row, and you go up there, you can take a picture of them. And it was one of those things that was like, we had tickets behind home plate. We'd watch most of the game. And I'm like, I got to get a picture at the euchre seats. I just got to go up there. And it was awesome. It was so much fun.
Yeah, that's I was really lucky because just last week the Royals were playing Milwaukee. And so I listened to the Brewers broadcast.
Of course, yeah. You got to beat Bob Uecker, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, why? I'm not going to miss this opportunity to hear what he thinks about the Royals, But so I want to go to Miller Park. I always liked Milwaukee's baseball history, and then I always, just the whole thing with the Seattle Pilots, and like that was just so weird, and just the name the Brewers, like it didn't even dawn on me until like 10 years ago. You say Brewers, Milwaukee. I'm like, we're the Milwaukee beer makers. Like that's what our baseball team is. Like we make beer. Come play us in Milwaukee, Chicago. So even that, just the name itself, is pretty sweet. And there's a weird kind of Royals Milwaukee relationship. Lorenzo Cain, Ned Yost, right. Zach Greinke, Escobar, among other people. But
yeah, of course, yeah. No, highly recommend the stadium. Everyone was super friendly. I mean, we bought tickets behind home plate for like $75, and I was just blown away. Go see a game behind home plate for $75. That was awesome.
That's good.
So yeah, we had a blast up there. And then it was only like an hour and a half north of Chicago, so it was perfect for us. So we went up Milwaukee and then down a couple Cubs games, and so yeah, I would highly recommend it if you get the time to do it.
So if you planned it perfectly, you could take in 3 games in 2 days, or maybe
So apparently the White Sox and Cubs don't play day and night games at the same time. Like it's some quirk with the schedule. Because we looked at that and we looked at this when we planned this out. We're like, let's do it. So we see a Brewers game and we see the White Sox and the Cubs. It happens every once in a while because that was exactly what we want to do. We're like, let's see a day game at Wrigley and then just head on to the South Side and go see a White Sox. It doesn't happen that often.
They try to compete with each other, I suppose.
Look, you got to make the most of it. I mean, I've ended up at a Stockton Ports game because my wife was like, hey, I got a business trip up to Sacramento. I'm going to drive. I'm like, I'll go with you. Let's go to this Stockton Ports game. Go check that out. Which, Matt Beatty was in. Dodgers prospect. Will Smith, Dodgers catcher. I mean, this was 3 years ago. Single A ball. I had no idea who I'm watching really at the time, but that's anytime I go to a minor league game, I always take a picture or a video of the lineup. Someone will go up in a dry erase board, right? Who's pitching, who's starting at every position, and then every time you go back 3 or 4 years later, you're just like, oh, holy crap, I didn't know so-and-so was in that game. But yeah, my wife travels for business a lot, and then I travel a lot. So anytime I can pass through a small town or a big town and see a game at a stadium I haven't been to, it's tops, if not the top thing on my priority of list of things to do.
Absolutely. Have you done spring training yet?
I have. My first spring training experience, 1999. high school spring break, Sarasota, Reds versus Red Sox, and saw Jerry Springer. He came in. Yeah. And this was at the height of his fame. So all of a sudden you just hear, Jerry, Jerry, Jerry. He comes walking by like, yep, I'm the king of the goddamn world right now. It's 1999. I'm Jerry Springer. I love Cincinnati. Don't you guys forget it. Yeah.
You live in a different world.
No, I've done Florida and then Arizona. I've done maybe 3 or 4 different times over the years, but I like that a lot too. If you follow MILB and just prospects, you know, talk about getting up close, like you can be right there, you know, as far as pictures. And I mean, again, I'm talking 2018, 2019. I don't know how close they're letting people get next year, but hopefully down the line you can get pictures taken with these guys again, you know. And plus you just see little kids just having the time of your life. So that just makes you happy right there. You're just like, oh, I remember that. One of the biggest mistakes I ever made at a baseball game as a fan happened at spring training. We were at a Rangers game right above the pitching mound, and this dude was working on like curveball and breaking, but it slipped and just flew out of the mound and landed. And you know how most of the stadiums will have like the grassy knoll area where the kids are all running around. So I pick up this ball and there's like a mob of kids. And I'm like, I don't know, how do I give this out to just one kid? And so I made the mistake of going, who's the biggest baseball fan? And all the kids are like, I am. And then I just lobbed the ball into the mob like a grenade. And just a riot ensued for this ball. I'm like, that was the worst thing I could have done. I should have just thrown the ball 50 yards away and just had a foot race for it. But instead I created like a WCW Royal Rumble over a bullpen mishap from a pitcher that will never make the big leagues because you can't even throw a curveball. But that's the stuff you get at minor league, you know, spring training games.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm going back home next summer and I'm meeting up with Third Dan and Tad, and we're gonna go catch a minor league baseball game. So
yeah, that's the Everett Sky Sox.
Yeah,
Aqua
Sox. Yeah.
I had messaged him, Dan, I was like, hey, next time, whenever that is, because I've wanted to go to a Aqua Sox game in the past, but they might not even be a team anymore. I don't know if they're getting axed.
Yeah, I don't know what the plan is either. I'm hoping it's still a team. I don't understand the whole let's get rid of the minor league thing. Just seems ridiculous. We were talking with Chris Brown, who does Chris Brown Sports Art, and he was a minor league pitcher for 8 years, and he was drafted in the 35th round. And I'm gutted because we had a great time talking to Chris, and there was a list of questions we wanted to ask him, and I didn't get a chance to actually ask him what he thought as a 35th round pick. How do you feel about the minors being pretty much dissolved?
Having not ever been drafted into any sports professional, my opinion on that is, so in Kansas City, we have the T-Bones, which is in Kansas City, Kansas, and that's a whole different weird thing. Kansas City's technically 2 cities. There's a state line that goes down the middle, but there's a Kansas City, Missouri that has a city hall. A Kansas City, Kansas has a city hall. You can see both cities. They're 2 miles apart, but the whole thing is the same city. But technically not. I'm just saying Minneapolis, St. Paul, Twin Cities, bullshit. You don't get more twin than the same name. Identical. So suck it, Twins.
So it's I've often wondered this. So it's one city across 2 states, basically. It's kind of round with the.
Well, historically, so Kansas wasn't settled territory. Missouri, I think 1840, something like that. So Kansas was like Indian territory. So as that started to get settled, there was a real hard state line. It's like, hey, you're safe or you'll get murdered over here, possibly by Indians. And so as the state line started to get the Kansas territory, the Indian territory, you know, that American way is we just started gobbling up free land from people that technically owned it. They wanted to develop that side of the river. There's a river that divides the whole thing. So they just named it Kansas City, knowing that you know, in Springfield, Ohio, in Pennsylvania. These are all just small towns in America that you don't need to worry about, John. But as these people got these flyers like move to Kansas City, they would all come and they would just settle in Kansas City, Kansas, knowing that they were close to Kansas City, Missouri, and really didn't care that much. But so that's how it started getting confusing. It started 150 years ago. But what I was getting at was the T-Bones, independent baseball, I think American Baseball Association. There's some really high level former MLB players and minor league players that are playing in this this league, which I think extends all the way up to Winnipeg. It's, you know, Minnesota. I think the St. Paul Saints are in that league.
Right.
Which
is like the Sugarland Skeeters as well too.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, I think that sounds, because it spans from like Texas, you know, all the way up to Canada. But that league's gonna, I think, has a chance to flourish, really adapt, you know, and absorb some of these, you know, these high A, low A prospects, you know, and fringe double A, which there's still a lot of talent there. I think baseball is now going to send, you know, just double up their scouts, and I think the scouts are going to be happy because, you know, a lot of these independent league teams are in. It's the C and D entertainment option in a lot of major cities. So the scouts can, you know, just go focus on independent leagues. As far as I know, there's no money in rookie ball and A ball anyway. So I feel like the conditions financially are going to be similar, and you're going to be playing in major cities as, you know, an 18, 19, 20-year-old that's a fringe, you know, prospect. You know, playing now with guys that have gone through the cycle. Maybe they're 32. Hey, I played in the Arizona Fall League, you know, but didn't quite make it with the Tigers. But here's some advice, you know, instead of just being stuck in Wilmington, North Carolina, you know, with a bunch of international, you know, scout talent pool guys, you know, and, you know, maybe there's language, there's cultural differences, you know, they're teammates, but you're not going to get maybe as many pointers or, you know, and help like coaching wise on your game. So, you know, it sucks that there's minor league baseball is awesome. We all love Bull Durham. Some of these small towns, you know, it's like, I feel bad for Grand Junction Rockies. That sucks. Grand Junction's pretty horrible anyway. Now they don't have baseball too. But independent baseball, I think, will flourish, will absorb a lot of that talent. And if those guys are worried about it, you know, just, they all know who the scouts are. The scouts will still be watching. It's just it's a little different style now. That's all.
All right. So,
Jason, do you want to move on to John's art then? Before
yeah, I was going to say it was.
Yeah, sure.
So obviously you got Ephus Mark as your artwork, and
well, it's Ephus, but some coffee shop has Ephus on. So Ephus is the official name. Ephus,
right?
Just to clarify that.
So how did this come around, and what was your first project?
My first project was a tabletop. I had this really ugly, just glass table that for a couple of years I would look at, and just for some reason I was like, man, I should take all my old cards and just make a tabletop for that. And then eventually, the 20th time that popped into my head, I just went out and did it. You know, I bought a little amount of epoxy resin. I watched a video on kind of how to prepare it and what not to do, that sort of thing. And then I just went through, found some Chiefs, some Royals, some, you know, very random, you know, Aikmans and Emmitt Smiths and Barry Bonds' kind of stars from that junk era, and then put together, you know, this tabletop. And then I got pretty comfortable with the epoxy and, you know, just kind of started experimenting with different things. But I was kind of excited about the idea of pulling these cards that had been in my parents' basement, you know, for over 20 years, like having not even seen daylight, like being inside of a box kind of stuff. And now they're on full display forever. You know, anyone that comes into that room, sits down, you know, it's like all these cards get to be viewed by that person. And so just that kind of philosophy is kind of what started in cutting up the cards. And this is about 3 years ago, 2017. And especially that was before this recent card boom. So, I mean, you could get stuff for like damn near like dirt cheap. I don't know if I have it. Like I had that Bo Jackson, you know, the bat over the
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
It's selling for like 250 or something now, ridiculous, like in mint condition. But you could buy that card all day for, you know, $3 or something.
Yeah.
And so you could gobble up in it if I needed anything. You know, I was like, all right, let me do a Mets piece, but it's like I need some more Dale Strawberries. Go to eBay and buy a bunch of Dale Strawberries for like $3, free shipping, you know. And so I just started cutting it up, kind of doing collages and things like that. But you know, the main thing just being like kind of excited that these cars are like have life again, and they're not just some weird cardboard stock, you know, that like as far as value, you know, to me there's more value in just something on a wall that's getting viewed and enjoyed, or brings back a memory or a moment, or you know, something like that. And that's the you know, I guess that's what makes art. But actually here's a great example right here. So I did this piece right here. This is Tom Glavine, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So I think I bought like 40 Glavine rookies for $7 like 3 years ago or something, you know. So
that costs more than a box.
That's like the 80, I think that's 87.
$88.
Is that, yeah, with the blue and red border there?
Yeah.
So and then
that's the only card that any kind of value in that whole set, John, and that tells you what it's worth.
well, I've still got 32 of them. And then I started getting creative. So like I pick up the schedules when I travel around the country. So this was a Reds piece from when I went to the Reds game in 2018. I just grabbed like 20 of their schedules. It was in September, so the season's over anyway. Not that I care. I'll take them anyway. I'll take them in April. You watch me. But yeah, so that's like Votto from the schedule. I got Chewbacca there because he was in one of the ads that when you folded it out.
Right. So I keep seeing 86 tops pop up. Is there a reason for 86 tops?
Yeah, it's the font, man. This is gorgeous. Look at that.
Yeah.
This is part of the Pete Ladd. This card I've loved for a long time. Just because the Weird Al Yankovic, he just looks just like, and it's awesome now because I think that's probably why I end up getting these glasses. Look, we have the exact. I just realized I have the exact same glasses as Pete Ladd.
We're gonna have to get you that Mariners hat so you can actually match it completely.
Hey, if it's that old sweet.
So I actually had a friend.
What's that?
Oh, sorry, there goes my Wi-Fi.
Oh no, you're all good.
I have a friend. My Wi-Fi. So they said this is why we broadcast from a 160-year-old toilet. The Wi-Fi goes down occasionally.
Gotcha. Understood.
What I was trying to say is I actually had a guy I knew who was he went on the road from Weird Al for a summer. So he did yeah, exactly. So
really?
Apparently he's like a vegetarian. He doesn't do any drugs, doesn't drink, just kind of like hangs out and like that there, and said it was just not what he expected from Weird Al at all.
No, I saw he's one of the biggest celebrity. I mean, I lived in Hollywood for a long time, but I saw him one day driving down Sunset. And that was actually probably the most excited I'd ever gotten seeing somebody that was famous.
Right.
It's so weird. One, you're kind of like, he looked great. You know, he looked fantastic, but it was real quick. Like, I was excited. I'm like, he's still alive. Yeah. Like he's still alive. That's awesome. Good for you, Weird Al. Yeah. But yeah, the 86, it's the font. It's just, I've done a lot with it. It's even like the logo that I put together with the EFIS, you know, using that. But yeah, that's the main thing. And I did a series recently. There's a lot of great mustaches. You know, when I went through my old cards, I noticed incredible mustaches, beards, actual glasses. Mm-hmm. So depending on what piece I'm working on, I'll look through cards, not for names, but just strictly for mustaches.
All right.
And so, which is fun. You should try it sometime. You're like, winner. That's a Grand Slam mustache. Okay. No, foul, you know.
You see,
So
it's
then
funny
I'll-
you say that because we were on the Two Strike Noise podcast, and they had it was the Bump Bailey Wax Pack opening of awesomeness. Did I get that right, John?
the
Bump Bailey Wax Pack Heroes Tournament of Awesome.
Yes. And so you got
We were the runners up.
Yes. And they had you got point. So we opened up old baseball cards. We had 87 Donners as our first one, and then they would take a Beckett from 1982 or 92. That would be too old. 1992, and then you got points according to the value of the card there, and then you got bonus points if they had stirrups, and you got bonus points if they had a mustache.
Man, that sounds like an incredible game.
Mullet as well, right?
Oh gosh, was a mullet in there or not? I can't remember. Definitely.
I mean, well,
Honestly,
look,
it was mullet as well.
if you're opening up 87, I mean, that's everyone's scoring all the time. I mean, that's a whorehouse and mustaches in 87. It's 86. That's the window. It's really like 83 to like 90. And there's some good ones in the early 90s as well. But
I see.
yeah, that sounds
I
like
go
awesome.
through my cards now, look for mustaches. I get know the seven and go, all right, it's my mustache.
I did a whole series on my Instagram, which is NLBMArt on Instagram, but it was called Stash Bash, where I went through the 86 series, and like that was all digital. I do some digital stuff, and I do some actual physical, like wall hanging type stuff too. But yeah,
That is a great name, Stash Bash.
yeah, it's just like
Stash Bash is a great name.
yeah, it's great because I did the hashtag. Apparently, Stash Bash is also a good hashtag if you're like a big giant gay man with a beard and mustache. Like, apparently, those are gay rendezvous in West Hollywood up the street too. So if you go to the hashtag Stash Bash, baseball cards and big burly giant ripped gay men with mustaches. So don't be confused. I know.
Know your audience.
Yeah. But that works for everybody.
Let's move now to the fundraiser. First off, how did you come to be involved as one of the many artists involved? And as an artist and as an American and as a baseball fan, what did the Negro Leagues mean to you 100 years later?
Oh man, a ton, man. I'm from Kansas City. I've been down to 18th and Paseo, the YMCA, where Rube Foster signed the documents to start the entire league in 1920, 100 years ago. I've been lucky enough for years did a Sportsaholics podcast with a friend of mine, Eric Marino. He's a former writer on Saturday Night Live, and big sports fan as well. But I was doing a stand-up show in Kansas City one weekend, and I took him with me to open up for me. And so we went down to the baseball museum, and Bob was very gracious. Bob Kendrick, the president of the museum, very gracious with his time, gave us a personal tour, a personal 45-minute interview where we stood on the field inside the museum, mere 3-4 feet away from Satchel Paige's bronze statue on the mound. But just the history of the players, the struggle, and which everyone's very common and familiar with and everything. But I like the fact that people go in there and they leave knowing who Larry Doby is, like the guy that just was a few months behind Jackie Robinson, that no one, knows who he is. It was actually on the last team that won the World Series for Cleveland in 48. But there's a lot of positive things in the museum as well. Like I picked up I learned a lot about barnstorming, and the stuff that Bob Feller would do with Satchel Paige, and they would go around, and in this forbidden black game versus white game and bring everyone together, and play and travel around the country and, just expose people that might have been out on a farm somewhere, very isolated, into the idea and the thought of a black man and a white man being friends and being competitive with each other and leaving on the same bus together, which, back in the, I guess that would have been the mid 30s. A lot of people hadn't seen that before. so there's a lot of positive things in the museum as well. And even with baseball, the MLB baseball initiative, I forget what the actual acronym is for it, but they've got 4 junior Royal stadiums built right behind the museum. It's a youth academy, just to help promote the sport in the inner city, education, all things, to help, and just good coaching. I mean, a lot of people, sports is nice and everything, but the biggest thing you get out of sports as a kid is when you have a coach that gives a shit, that it's not just about winning, but developing kids. And not everyone's blessed to, have a dad or have even maybe a good dad, or a dad that's even around because he's working all the time or whatever. So programs like that are real important just for good male leadership influence, and stuff like that. And so the museum gives back to the community, and Bob does a great job. Like, all of his time is spent, hosting tours. If a team comes to town and they haven't seen the museum, he'll 4 hours of his day is, personally walking everyone around, answering questions, and it's his passion. So it's awesome because he loves doing it. And they've got the Geddy Lee from Rush, the lead singer, the living in the limelight. That guy, he's got like a 500 autographed baseball Negro Leagues collection that's on display.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know it was his. I honestly didn't know who Geddy Lee was really until 5 years ago. I knew Rush, but I didn't really. I don't know their names. But
everyone knows Neil Peart more.
Yeah, we get to the case, and it's this 40-foot case of baseballs that are 10 baseballs deep. And I'm like, this is crazy. Like, Bob's like, this is the Geddy Lee collection. I'm like, Geddy Lee's like from Rush, and I'm like, wait, the lead singer of Rush? This is his baseball collection? He's like, yeah, he donated it a couple of years ago. So just little stuff like that. It's incredible, and they rotate out the memorabilia and the stories and stuff like that. But yeah, no, I was the show, the curator reached out to see if I was interested, and I was like, absolutely. One, having been in the museum itself, a half a dozen or more times, and then being just that's my hometown. Yeah, I was like, anything to help and just kind of promote it. And because I don't know their official mission statement, but I know Bob, being the legendary Buck O'Neill's right-hand man through the latter years of his life, and just helping him, travel around the country and tell all those famous stories from when he played and coached, the first African-American base coach with the Cubs, I believe in '67. Buck O'Neill was longtime KC Monarchs coach and player. But Bob knows all those stories. So it's like, even though Buck passed away, I think, maybe 10 years, a while ago, yeah. Bob still knows all those stories by heart, and was there for a lot of his interactions with Buck O'Neill. So he was able to, he's just got an incredible encyclopedia of baseball knowledge. And encyclopedia, for you listeners like under 30, back in the old times before the internet, there was a series of books. It'd be A through Z. So if you wanted to look up baseball, you'd go to B and you'd open it up in like a dictionary, which was another book that had things in it. You would look up, but anyway, that's the level of knowledge in Bob Kendrick's head about the Negro Leagues and baseball, and so much more. So yeah, I was thrilled to participate, and just even as an artist with just my ethos projects, just to be seen, and even like acknowledged, like, oh man, that's some great stuff. It makes you feel good, and it gets me excited when people have good reactions to the work that I put out, and the stuff that I do. But yeah, so that was a long answer. But Bob Kendrick, hopefully I'm going to be sending you a check for like $50 to $100 here in the next month or two after I sell the piece I'm working on, which I think is going to be a Satchel Paige Buck O'Neill collaboration. I'm going to do like a Kansas City backdrop. There's a really cool mural on the side of the YMCA building of the Monarchs, I think circa like maybe late 20s, but try to incorporate that as well. But yeah, no, I'm thrilled.
That's awesome.
I'm honored, actually.
Cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what you come up with. I really enjoy your work.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Yeah, no, it's been a fun thing because with Tad, and I've got to actually chat with everyone that I've been following on Instagram for like last year or two, and just go, this is actually really amazing. And everyone's such a baseball nerd, and it's been so much fun,
Damn right it is. I want whoever's watching this is not maybe on the nerd spectrum with baseball. It's like I hope that over 10 times during this last, over the last however long we've been having a great time here. Been like, I have no idea what that guy's talking about. What's an aqua sock in Everett? That's why baseball's great. You can go deep, real deep with the stats and the information and the history.
Yeah, no. So we were talking about baseball nerds. So apparently Chuck D is a Stratomatic fan.
Wow.
Yeah.
That game seems to have really captivated. So I'm 39. That like 45 to 55, those kids from the 70s and early 80s.
Yeah.
Like I was just an embryo and a fetus up until February 28th, 81. So I don't remember any of that stuff, but they loved it. I think that was like the closest thing to social, reality, or what am I trying to say? Not social media, but anyway, yeah, that was like the bee's knees for all those kids back then.
Yeah. It was interesting because apparently he collects cards, and big Stratomatic nerd. And I was just like, who would have guessed? Like, it was just such a weird thing to hear from Chuck D.
Dude, I know a few comedians that collect, and it's a real, we don't broadcast it really. Like I'll subtly, just wear some like small base, I have a lot of baseball shirts, and Jason, I know you do, but it's great when I stumble across the collector, because inevitably there's going to be a text exchange where I get to show him my favorite cards, my Matumbo refractor, and then they send me back like, oh, I got this PSA 7, 87 Michael Jordan Fleer, and just, and it's great because really for me, it's all just good memories, nostalgia, which isn't always a great thing, but, in the case of like baseball cards, it just puts me in a good mood. And I love the history of the game a lot too. So it's kind of like these little quizzes. The old cards all had information on them. So absolutely. Because all we had was the goddamn encyclopedia.
Exactly.
And then This Week in Baseball.
Speaking of
Saturday.
It's on hiatus till I finish this project. I'm literally getting like 4 hours of sleep. Literally before our interview started, my wife just got back from Sweden, and she's been away for 9 days. So I've been dealing with 2 kids, doing the broadcast, trying to get the website going. So
you're awesome. You guys, this is great. Yeah. Well, look, I could talk about baseball forever. How long has this been going on, I guess?
We've already done it over an hour.
About an hour and 50. Yeah.
Let's do 2 more.
Why don't we? Let's close up with what we usually do at the end of these interviews, which is open up a pack of cards. Jason, would you like to?
Let's hit him. John, where can everyone find your work and information?
Okay.
Sell yourself, sell your podcast, do everything you can do.
Yeah, so the Sportsaholics, that's with an X podcast on hiatus. Still do Instagram, but if you go to JON is here, ISHERE, John is here. My last name is Schieszer, so I don't want to make anyone spell that. But that's social media on Instagram, and then NLBMArt. And you guys know what an EFIS pitch is?
Yeah, I'm well aware. That's
John.
That's all my repertoire. My repertoire.
Yeah. So it's the small. It's a crazy you don't know what's going to happen. So I felt like that's why I chose EFIS as a name for my my works, is because I felt like it encompassed exactly what I'm doing with the cards. It's like you just have no idea where it's going, how fast it is, or if you're even going to get what's going on. So that's the whole. Really the point behind all
this.
Is
like the If this is like the slow looper type one, isn't it? It just kind of goes like
49 to 58 miles an hour. But yeah, so NLBMArt on social media. I've got a ton of work up there that's for sale. I do commission work too. Usually takes about 2 months probably to flip orders around. And I do comedy too. That's another thing. It's like I don't want to, got stand-up stuff, so I didn't want it to like bleed over too much. Like I don't care if I do comedy or art. I just marketing, and help promoting the two things needs to be separate. Yeah. Because I shit on kids all the time, so I don't want somebody like, oh, I love that Ken Griffey thing, but he just made fun of my kid for 5 minutes, so I don't know if I like this guy. But yeah, that's it. Okay, so I'm done with the promotions. We're ready to go.
All right, we'll open up some cards, but I did want to show you one card I did have. So I got a George Brett autograph.
Oh, dude, that is what kind of is that? That looks like is that an 84?
Gosh,
Tops?
Yeah, 84 tops.
Yeah, the font on the 84 tops is pretty sweet too. But 86 slightly beats it out.
Yeah,
dude, that's a nice card.
I've had that. Unfortunately, I had George Brett sign this before at the Kingdome before a Mariners game, and then immediately put it in my back pocket, and it sat in my back pocket. So it's not mint condition at all, but I have George Brett's autograph, so that's all I got.
Dude, and you were at the Kingdome. I mean, that's bonus points. I mean, that's awesome.
And I was wondering, are you collecting Topps 2020?
Oh
yeah, okay.
Just George's. I actually, dude, I the ups and downs of that. I just got this in the mail.
And how much did you overpay for it?
Dude. Okay. Just guess what I paid for that.
So I paid 110 for mine. So
this is the Mr. Cartoon. I just bought it last week. $45.
$45, yeah.
So, but I also got screwed on. I paid $100 for one that I think you can get for $10 now. But that was the only. Everything else. But so that whole market, if you're not familiar, don't worry about it. But I just do the George Bretts right now. So I'm looking. I got everyone up to now except for the SIF because I just feel weird about spending $350 on a card.
I like the card. It's an awesome card. But yeah,
it's awesome. It's really awesome. But
although saying that, I bought the companion cards and spent $300 on the Sophia Chang Roberto Clemente.
Man, those are pretty dope though. As being a collector, sometimes I just gotta figure out, gotta focus in. I'm like, well, I can't get this because I want to put that in over here, but I'm kind of jealous. As far as just the Topps Project 2020, I love what it's done for kind of what I'm doing for guys like Card Killer or doing guys like, Third Dan, doing, modern baseball art down here in LA is doing, and these are all just people that I'm friends with on social media.
Yeah. And
I wasn't really familiar with any of the artists that they used in the project, but just the amount of attention that it's brought and just that concept of like, there's no value, it's like when I started, there really wasn't value. Now there kind of is some value in some of those cards, but it's exciting because it's just, it's just more attention and more fans and just the more people that can know who, a Bo Jackson is or Cal Ripken, it's like when you get older, you forget, like people don't know who those, like an 18-year-old.
You got to get the
usually
tape out and pick it in there and go, this was Bo Jackson.
They're like, who's Bob Gibson? It's like, sit down, 18-year-old, let's have a talk.
So unfortunately, when we watch MLB TV out here, they run the same adverts like all year long. Like they don't actually change anything. So like when everyone will talk about the Bo Jackson 5-hour energy commercial because it came on 4 or 5 times every commercial break over and over and over again. And oh man, like you just mentioned Bo Jackson. It's like, I'm Bo Jackson. I had 5-hour energy.
Dude, I mean, do they sell Bo Jackson? Do they sell 5-hour energies in Edinburgh too?
No.
Yeah. So that's pointless. And then secondly, though, that's better than watching Frank Thomas sell dick pills. That's what we're getting over here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, they're workout supplements, but how many sexual puns and innuendos do you need in a commercial to be like, I get it. My dick's getting hard, Frank. Thanks, buddy.
Because I remember it was all about Rafael Palmeiro. Because he was the big one back in the day. So I left in 2003. So all my baseball memories and that was say back.
Okay. Yeah. I never ever took steroids. And I'm not lying because I just told you I wasn't, and I'm not making eye contact, and I'm pointing at you. So you know I'm telling you the truth. That guy?
All right.
I remember seeing Randy Johnson in Just for Memory commercials at one point.
Damn, what were they selling? Hair product? I mean,
It was like the I think it was the beard one.
Oh, okay.
For his
Okay.
goatee. And it was a weird advert. It was like, and he was like mowing his lawn or something at one point in the advert. It's just like Randy Johnson. He's like, look at how much I'm not graying. It's like so obvious in the diet. But yeah, I remember seeing that weirdly. Randy Johnson's a legend.
Oh yeah, he's the best.
All right, John.
Anyway,
let's
open
open
some
the cards.
cards.
Yeah, let's do this. Okay, so what year is this?
Cards.
Oh.
You gotta pick which one you want to open. So you get choices.
Okay. What do we? Okay.
All right. Well, actually, I got another. I got 87 tops. If you want 87 tops.
No, leave
89
that word down.
Donruss.
87 Donruss, okay.
1990 score. That's got that bow in it.
I know. I'm familiar. I bought a box recently.
91 Upper Deck.
Now holograms enter the picture.
Yeah, and it's got the 91 Upper Deck has the Jordan in it. So when you were talking about how things got inflated, I was buying them at $10 a box before the Jordan documentary came out, and then it all shot up again. I was like, oh fuck, man, I gotta find something else to sell.
I know. So that's the original Jordan, where he's in the White Sox, but it's the red and blue White Sox jersey. Okay.
Yep.
Not the black, not the Ice Cube from Boys in the Hood White Sox.
No, which actually, my buddy just bought a pack of these cards, and he pulled the Jordan already, and I've never gotten one. I was so pissed off. He's like, dude, that was the best £5 I ever spent. It's like, you bastard! I bought those boxes just to get that damn card because I never got one as a kid.
Man,
all right,
that's tough.
91 Stadium Club. 92 Donruss.
That's with the baby blue, right? That's the baby blue.
I don't know. I haven't actually opened these. I bought them because it was like $5, and I was like, all right. But it has the Cal Ripken Jr. autograph in there.
Okay.
All right.
That was the members' choice cards. The special. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I was Stadium Club.
Studio.
93 Studio.
Yeah, I've got 91 Studio too as well.
I've got a box of 91 Studio right over my shoulder, right up there.
Have you pulled the Steve Lake yet?
No.
Oh shit! All right.
Let me see it. See, I haven't opened any of that year's Studio. Yes, okay, I have. That's my favorite. That's the one I looked for. Yeah, I pulled one. I've only found one of them. God, I love that card.
Exactly. I was interviewing Tad and Travis, and I was like, "There's this awesome card with Steve Lake, and he's got a parrot in the shoulder, and it was the second to last card, and it was awesome." I've
done 2 Studio pieces.
Oh, nice.
This is from the 91, when the first year was black and white. I love how their concept was like intimate, up close photos with personal information. Get to know the player. And you flip the card over, and it's like, I like country music and fishing. And I'm like, God, the 90s were simple. It's like, that's not information. And then this is one I did with, this is the 92 Studio.
Yeah.
That right there. And so, but yeah, so anyway, the process epoxy, and then you just put it on the ball. It's like, hey, I like baseball cards.
And then I've got one pack of Modern. I've got 2020 Big League Baseball. That's the other pack there. So
what was the Modern? Let me see the Modern.
2020 Baseball.
Oh, Modern. I got it. You. Yeah. Let me pass on the score because those cards are pretty ugly, and I've already got the bow. Does every pack of the 91 Upper Deck come with the team hologram sticker? Yeah, then that's my pack. Let me go with that one.
We'll go with the Upper Deck.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get lucky, get a Jordan. So
you'll get a Jordan, because if you pull one out of that pack, if I
pull it out of the pack, it's going right to you. So.
Oh man.
All right, there you go. Let's see. There you go. All right. We got a Yankee, Lee Guterman.
/ Lawn and Garden Center manager.
He's got a nice mustache. So yeah, he's got a mustache there. You see in the back. You can't see in the front. You got the mustache there. So
yeah.
All right. We got a Cecil Fielder card.
Dude, that's very nice, actually. See, I could work with that. I love the illustrations. Started with the Diamond King and then just went on from there.
So Tad said he got in touch with Vernon Wells Sr., who did these cards, and he just had a stroke. So he can't paint right now.
Man, that's Vernon Wells' dad worked for Upper Deck.
Yeah, he was the artist. He's a licensed artist. He did all the Upper Deck stuff.
What? How? I mean, I guess, like, why isn't that on Vernon Wells' bio?
I had
That's
no
incredible.
idea either. It came up somehow, and I was like, "What?" His dad's the.
Now, did he really do it, or is it like one of those Curtis Flood? I'm a great painter. Just kidding. I didn't paint any of this stuff. I just told you I did. That's a deep stab at Cardinals fans, St. Louis Cardinals fans. But anyway, go. All right.
Here you go, John. This tells you how good the '91 Yankees were. That's Roberto Kelly.
Roberto Kelly. So wait, I've gotten 2 illustrated cards in the pack.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love it.
We can say that. All right.
Just the look of those is just so 1989. Oh, is that Darren Dalton?
No, Randy Reddy.
Oh, okay. God, is that a mullet on his shoulder?
Oh, yeah. He definitely got the mullet back there.
Oh man, that guy looks like he was a Sigma Chi class of '83 and like Mississippi State, transferred from Corpus Christi.
Yeah, Jay Howell.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I like the cards with 2 pictures too, because it gives me 2 options.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, so the back side.
Weiss?
Weiss. But the back side
Weiss,
is
okay.
better than the front.
Yeah, that's a pretty sweet picture right there.
Yeah, that must be interesting. You must have to get those Upper Deck to go, okay, which side works better for you?
Yeah, it's, I do like the score, the 90 score, because I thought I had some right here. But there's a little profile, like yearbook picture on the back.
Yeah.
So those are, I'll use those most of the time.
Gary Carter is a
Guy
Giant.
Eddie? I didn't even know he played for the Giants.
I didn't remember either. I'm looking at this card going, I don't remember that. He played 92 games for the Giants in 1990.
I mean, those batting helmets, I miss those things. Like, yeah, wear one. Okay. It's going to fall off, though, every swing.
Well, I hope this shows. We get the Pirates hologram card.
Oh, that's dope, man. That is sweet.
That's the card. That's the one I've got, is it?
Did I send you that one? John has like 6 baseball cards, all because I sent him this is jersey.
Yeah. Yeah, he sent me a few with my Yankees jersey that I bought from his store, and also the Thurman Munson card that you sent me from a birthday last year.
Rest in peace. Rest in peace, Thurman Munson.
All right. Yeah. Gary Templeton for the Padres.
Nice.
And the backside's better. You can see he's got that fielding there.
Yeah. I think those are my second least favorite Padres uniforms. I love the brown, yellow, orange.
Yep.
Yeah.
Brian Harper. Not to be accused of Brian L. Harper.
I've never even heard of that guy. Who was their old backstop in, like, was it Gladden or Chuck Knobloch or no?
It's a twin. It's an angel back there. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Either way, that card sucks.
Mike Boddicker.
Dude, I love Mike Boddicker. He lives in Kansas City. His son was an independent. I interviewed his son. His son helped me out a long time ago and like do an interview about independent league baseball. I was trying to put together a reality show based on the T-Bones and just that independent league.
Okay.
And I filmed a nice demo, or thought I did, and then my cinematographer lost half our footage, so you can't really get all that back. So it's like, thanks, man. I was really glad I flew out here. But anyway, go ahead. I love Mike Boddicker.
So, just to show you how well it was sorted, we get another Lee Guterman.
See, could you imagine if that was the Jordan pack? You pulled 2 Jordans out of 1 pack.
Yeah, exactly.
There's the White Sox hologram in there too.
Got Vaughn Hayes.
Vaughn Hayes, man, I pull him a lot, and I didn't realize I'm like I don't remember him as a kid just because he was a slasher, and he's a very popular card to pull out.
Yeah, I seem to pull him all the time. But then, it's like 89 through 93, 94. It's the same guys you see all over again.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Chili Davis.
Chili. Yep. The Angels. that was back when I just thought the Angels were in Sacramento. I was like, they're California Angels. They're probably just in the middle of the state then.
I still think they need to go back to the California Angels. This whole Los Angeles Angels Anaheim thing is just bullshit.
Yeah, I think that was my plan. I thought the Chargers should have gone the California Chargers when they moved to LA. And then they could have played games in San Diego, LA, and wherever. But anyway, somebody steal that idea in the NFL, pay me something for it. But
exactly, get the rights on that. See, that's funny you say that. So Homage is doing a Wax Packs Wednesday this month. I think I can't remember that. But they've clearly stolen my idea, and I tried to call them on that, and they said, no, it's just a coincidence.
Yeah, you're like, okay, maybe. Do you mind like naming it something else then? I mean, they do what they're the ones that do all the T-shirts that you look at it and you're like, yeah, I'd buy that. It's like nostalgia heavy, or it's like pictures of baseball cards and stuff on it, right? Yeah.
No. So I said, well, it's coincidence because I have 8 pictures of me doing Wax Packs Wednesday with your shirt on that I've tagged you in, and you've liked it.
Yeah. Come on, Homage, just be cool. I was thinking about buying that 1990 Ken Griffey Jr. shirt that I just saw pop up on my feed today. Now I don't know. It's like, why don't you just give credit where credit's due? It's not like, and look, I know you didn't invent a computer or anything, but it's like you're the first guy that was doing PAX Online opening that I saw. And by the way, I think you've kind of been doing it for well over a year now, it seems like. Very long time. You know what? Why don't you just like tag them, sponsored by, and then just like go, they sponsor yours so that people get confused. Like, well, which one?
I'm gonna have to cut all the videos lately. I just haven't actually posted them. Like, I've been so busy. I'm just like, okay, it's Wednesday. With my pack up, I haven't posted them, but I've done well. I've got 2 McGuires and a bow. So,
man, now is there more cards?
The logo off my game.
Yeah, we got 2 more. But all right, so we got Ken Hill for the Giants, or for the Cardinals.
Okay, never heard of them.
But then we have the Bashing Years with McGuire.
Dude, that's a nice card right there.
I don't actually remember this card, but it has a whole description in the back.
Is that just a regular base card?
Yeah, it's like 656 there. Okay. So I don't remember this card at all. But it was
Matt McGuire, of course, one of the 2 guys that was through to the final of the Bump Bailey Wax Pack Heroes Tournament of Awesome, alongside Bobby Bonilla. We won back-to-back rounds with a single card in that tournament because we drew Bobby Bonilla, who was worth like $3 or $3.50, and then we had Mark McGuire, who was worth just under $2, was it? About $2, was it, Jason? That Mark
it was $2.
Worth, and then like that was basically it. Like they were like the second card of the pack, so it was just a case of, well, you guys have already won, so let's just keep going for the sake of it.
Dude, will you type up the rules to that game? I think I want to like play that, like, because I'll carry packs of cards around with me to bars when I do shows and stuff, like in my backpack. I'll just bust them out, like, or give them to people, and they love it, man.
Yeah.
God, I'm so weird. I just said that out loud. I'm like, God, that sounds strange.
No, it's the same thing. I mean, it was, I saw someone else. I mean, I totally cribbed the idea when Homage sent me my shirt and a pack of 88 tops. And I was like, that's awesome. I said, I know the cards are absolutely worthless, but, I got to try the gum and I got to see what crap I got in there.
There's a great company out of Kansas City called Charlie Hustle that they'll do that. They'll throw a pack in. And I went to a Giants San Francisco game years ago, and they were handing out old junk era cards to everyone when they entered. I was like, oh, that's really cool.
So I did that at the London series. I took 50 packs, put them in a backpack, and handed them out to people at the London series game. And it was a lot of fun to see what people pulled there. Although I did give a pack to a German guy and his son just immediately ate the bubble gum. And I was trying to explain to him, no, this is 30-year-old bubble gum.
It just dissolves. You're like, the speakers in Deutsch, no.
It didn't work out well for him. I felt bad for the kid, but I was just like, we'll just say we got lost in translation.
Man, and good for you for going to that. John, did you make it to the London game?
No, I didn't go there.
That looks like it.
The tickets were ridiculous.
I'm not a fan of London.
It was like,
Oh,
it was
okay.
$50 to sit in the nosebleed section. I mean, it wasn't cheap to go at all. I mean, I paid $500 to sit in the left field side of third base, so I actually could see things.
The games were an absolute embarrassment.
Yeah, those were nasty. Weren't they like 17-2?
It was like
it was crazy. Yeah, it was poor. It was like very much exhibition baseball, and those were regular season games.
There was a short porch, right? Wasn't that one of the problems? Like there was a real short.
It was a very short porch. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think was it like 300 or something like that, one of them.
I can't remember. Yeah, it was ridiculous. Like they barely fit the stadium in there. It was short all around. But yeah,
I just like the expansion. I was gonna I'll show you. This is one of my favorite things in my collection. Doesn't really mean shit anymore because this was actually a ticket stub from the only game before this year in MLB history that was played without fans in attendance. And this is when there were, not for any good reason, 2015 riots in Baltimore, and they closed down the city, but then they still played the game. So I was immediately got online. I'm like, I want a ticket from that game.
Yeah.
So
cool.
I guess what I had to do there was just one up, the nerdness level.
Let's see. What do I got here?
Yeah.
I got something.
What you got? Your balls in your court, Jason. John, you get something next.
I'm screwed. Let me see. I you know what? Actually, yeah, I got a San Diego chicken card.
Dude, that's pretty dope right there, man. I've never even seen that card before.
It's Fleer. It's 1982 Donners.
That's
yeah.
I have a lot of those around.
I've got another one. Good
God, man. So I love collecting, man.
There was three of them.
Like, here he is in Winnipeg. Here he is when he went to Vancouver.
Jeez.
Here he is. This was an exhibition game.
Jesus, your nickname on the podcast is going to be chicken fucking anymore of this, man.
That was one of those things.
Oh God,
the chicken was like huge. I mean, he would fill a stadium when you knew the San Diego chicken was going to show up there. So like I found like a 3-pack of those cards for like $5, and I was like, yeah, I gotta get the San Diego chicken. I love the San Diego chicken.
Yeah, dude, there's so many things like that. I mean, baseball's just a great game. Just there's so many, like, historically, like, when you said that, it just reminded me back of like the Philadelphia A's in the, like, I think it was like 1908-9. They had a little guy with a hunchback that they would stand in the dugout and rub his little hump for good luck before they went to go bat. They would take him on the road. He was like 30 inches tall, like just like weird stuff. Like why is this guy there's a chicken that travels around and people love him? Like, yeah, it's baseball. It's weird stuff.
Was that like Pedro Martinez's little friend he carried around?
What?
Don't you remember Pedro? Yeah, there was like Pedro hung out with a little person, and like he was like mini me. Like, you'll have to Google this. Yeah.
I am going to actually get through that. Dude, can we do this like every other day? I mean, we don't even have to go live. I mean, we just hang out and talk. This is great.
All right. Well, it's almost 12:30 here at night, Scott. So, John, sorry, I'm losing the plot.
You guys, no, it's all good. I look like a lot of Scots.
No.
We all look the same.
I'm losing the plot here. Like, I'm working on 4 hours of sleep over the last couple of nights, so it's all right, John.
So, guys, that was our second interview of the night. I'm going to put Jason out of his misery right here and now. John, thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute blast talking with you. We need to get you back on for an episode of Ball Caps and Bagpipes, and we'll expand on this a bit further. I get the feeling we could go on for 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah.
So let's take advantage of that and get it done. In the meantime, thanks so much again, and good luck with the fundraiser. And hopefully we'll have a chance to chat with you again soon.
Yep. And viewers, support the arts. We always appreciate it. And guys, thank you so much for just shining the light on the collecting side of things, and just, the passion for, baseball, and just specifically the junk era as well. So it's awesome. So appreciate that, guys. Thank you.
No problem, man. Thanks again for coming on. It's been a blast.
Anytime. Yeah, we're doing it again soon. That's a fact. So.
Okay, no problem. Okay.
Enjoy the rest of your day, man. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.